So one thing we've talked a lot about on this channel is how to improvise and create awesome licks for soloing. However, one thing we haven't talked about so much is just the simple question of what makes a great melody. Now realistically, I actually think that great licks have wonderful melodies built in, and I will explain to you what I mean by that in this video. So in this video, I want to do my best to go over what I think, based on my own personal knowledge and experience, makes a great melody, and also what are the relationships between, let's say, a great bebop melody, which has a lot of chromaticism, and just a really simple, beautiful pop melody. Because actually, I think there are some surprising similarities that make both work from the inside out. So of course, let's get into it right after I ask you to, if you are new here, please hit that subscribe button. And if you know and like my content, please click like. Really helps me and the channel out and to grow. So let's start with a really, really simple melody. This is the tune, All the Things You Are. I think a lot of jazz musicians know this tune, but if you don't know it, that's okay. You're about to hear it, and I'm going to show you how simple this melody actually is. Honestly, I don't even need to play it any further than that just to demonstrate the melody here and its inner workings. Now, this melody is a great place to start this discussion because it's, for the most part, built primarily on chord tones. Now, the term chord tones generally refers to the 1, 3, 5, and 7 of a chord. So let's start with the first chord of this tune, which is really F minor 7 in its most basic form. Right? 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. First melody note is the flat third. Then everything shifts up a fourth, and we actually have the flat 3 of B flat minor. And then we go up another fourth to E flat 7, and now we're on the third of E flat 7. 1, 3, flat 5, flat 7. And now this time we land on A flat major, which is going to be on the major 7. Now I'm not going to keep walking you through this because this is essentially a lot of how this song functions. It's a tune with a melody completely built on chord tones, and it also happens to be one of the most famous melodies of all time, potentially. Certainly one of the most commonly played tunes in jazz. So one question I have for you is, what does that have in common with a tune like this? That, of course, is the classic standard Donna Lee, which is of the bebop era, and so, of course, the melody itself almost sounds like improvised bebop lines. However, it is a bit more organized, and we'll talk about how as well. I also want to draw from another one of my favorite composers, John Williams, who, of course, is the great thematic melody writer of film scoring. And I'm just going to pull up the melody to Jurassic Park here, one of my favorite scores. I don't know if I actually got all the ending chords right there. It might actually be like this. But either way, this will work for what we're talking about here. So the main answer I'm looking for here is essentially all of these melodies are built around chord tones, even Donna Lee, which is very, very complex. When we look at the Jurassic Park melody, let's go there next. We have A flat major. So we essentially could think of this as a little bit of a approach note departure. We're just moving a half step away, but going right back up to this melody note. So of course in A flat, we're on the root. With this D flat over A flat, the root becomes the 5. And this is really an E flat 7 over A flat. So this now moves to the 5 of E flat. And then we have D flat major over A flat. So now we have root of D flat major, 3, 1, right? So essentially we have 1, 7, 1, 1, 7, 5, 1, 7, 1, 5, flat, 7, but then 1, 3, 1. Okay, so spectacular melody. It's somehow so unique. I mean, you hear this melody and you immediately know Jurassic Park, right? So beautiful. And yet look how incredibly simple it is in terms of the note choices. Obviously there's more to it than that, we'll get into it, but just wanted to point that out. Now let's take a look at Donna Lee. So much more complicated. Let's just start there. 1, 2, 7, 1, 7. Then we land on flat 7, 3. I'm going to jump up here. Okay, so here we get a little stranger. We're kind of on this sharp 5 here on the B flat. But we go to the flat 7, 5, 3, 5, flat 7, 9, 13, 5. But you see how many distinct chord tones we're actually landing on, right? And the other thing is, just like we've talked about on this channel before, many of them are landing on these strong kind of downbeats, right? Beats 1 and 3. So distinctly, at the end of the day, this melody is very diatonic. It is outlining the chords of the song in a melodic way, repeating on certain patterns. And of course, it's using bebop style chromaticism with approach notes and enclosures. If you don't know what those are, I will be sure to link a video where you can take a look. Now, I don't want to say that every single good melody absolutely must be built all around chord tones, okay? Because I think in music, so much is subjective and people always come up with brilliant ways to break the rules. But I do think that in terms of what we are used to hearing, melodies built around chord tones that give us really beautiful landing points to outline the chords of a tune are really, really strong, and we feel connected to them very quickly and easily. Now, before I move on into some other elements of good melody, I would really, really love this video to actually be somewhat of a conversation, because I'm just basing this based on my own observations and experience and knowledge, but I know that this is subjective, and I would love to hear what you all have studied, what you know about melodies. Are there any melodies that you think break these rules already? Please let me know in the comments your thoughts. Let's have a discussion about it. Maybe I'll even make a follow-up video, because I think this is a really, really important subject. And of course, this all ties directly into improvisation and our ability to develop thematically and be melodic as improvisers as well. Really quick, if you're getting a lot out of this video so far, please hit the like button. It really, really helps me and the channel out. All right, so now we're kind of going to part 2 of the video. Now I want to think about what the other elements that make a melody absolutely wonderful actually are. So of course, we've kind of gone over the note choice, which oftentimes is built on chord tones. What else is there? Of course, there is motivic development. That's a huge, huge element. I'm sure you've heard that phrase before, but what actually is motivic development? What are the elements that allow us to build a motif? Well, there are several, but of course, rhythm is possibly the single most important other factor besides the notes themselves. So of course, all the things you are is about as simple as you can get, right? Beat 1, whole note, beat 1, beat 1, quarter notes. So quarter notes and whole notes, it's so simple, right? But it still follows a pattern even rhythmically. Now, Jurassic Park, you may have noticed, also has a little rhythmic motif built in with the melody. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So we've had the same thing repeat 3 times now. And you know, I can't remember exactly who said this or where I heard it, but let me know in the comments if you know. But there was, I believe, a great composer who once said that after 3 times of something repeating, it gets to be too much and it's time to move on and develop it. That's exactly what John Williams does here. So on the 3rd time, the melody actually moves up in range. And that was another thing I was going to mention. Another element is using range for motivic development. So we go. So essentially he's taking this little melody and taking that last 8th note of each bar and landing on a chord tone of the next chord. Now, what's another element here? Of course, the harmony itself. How do the chords beneath the melody actually develop as well? So after this first phrase of the melody, we develop further and we actually go from 1 to 5. And we have kind of a melody that counters the original melody, and this one also develops. Same rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. And still developing. You know, when we analyze it, it is so simple and so incredibly gorgeous and recognizable. It's almost baffling when you just look at it like this. Now, speaking of range, there's something interesting I noticed about Donna Lee. So check this out. We start on this G up here. Now we're down an entire octave. This is another high point, but we still haven't gotten up to that G. Now for a second we do go above it, but it still feels very unresolved because we have this essentially F dominant chord with the flat 9 and sharp line. Sharp 9, excuse me. And then finally now at the top of the next day we get that resolution with the G again being the 7 of A flat major. 1, 2. Now instead of following the same harmonic path, we shift into F minor. And then finally, at the very end, we finally get that resolution with the G on top yet again. And we land right there on the root. So Donna Lee is developing motivically, but also by using not only rhythm, also by using the harmonic motion of the chords moving into a minor key. So while the second half goes to F minor, right? The first half actually takes us from A flat major to D flat major. And we get a bit more of a consonant sound. But when we go to minor, that's really a huge departure from the very major sound of the song otherwise. And it sounds like a new arrival point. We're really building up tension. And of course, what do we do with tension? Well, there's nothing that feels better than the release of that tension. So we finally release it by landing back on that G and back in A flat major. So I would actually challenge you to, after watching this tutorial, go check out different songs that you like from pretty much any genre. It could be a classical piece, it could be a film score, it could also be pop music, country, whatever it is you like. See how many of those songs are largely built around chord tones. Take a look at how the melodies actually develop. See how they use different ranges to develop. One thing I've noticed, of course, that you're probably aware of is that many pop songs will start low and the pre-chorus get a little higher, then on the chorus they get into a higher range. And of course there's also dynamics involved as well, and arrangement. But in terms of the melody itself, the melody actually does go into a higher range. In addition to that, also keep an eye out for rhythmic motifs as well. and I'm pretty sure you're going to find them. Now, one solo that, in my opinion, does an incredible job of developing motivically and slowly saving complexity, different ranges, different values of notes to actually develop really steadily, intelligently, and slowly is Brad Meldau's solo on the song I'll Be Seeing You. I think I'm going to have to do an analysis of that at some point, but that will be for another video. That's just a great example, in my opinion, of taking a lot of what we've talked about today and actually implementing that into a solo. Now that makes a lot of sense because the story goes that Brad Meldau would often sit down for hours and just practice different ways to embellish and play the same exact melody or build soloistic motifs all based on that melody. So that actually would really add up, if that's true, would make a lot of sense because of how well he's able to motivically develop his solos. All right, I hope this video was helpful to you. I hope it revealed some things. But again, if you want to debate me, I'm all for it. Jump into the comments, let me know some of your favorite melodies. Let me know if they break these rules or follow these rules. I'm excited to talk about this more. I think it's a really interesting and important subject. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, please be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any more useful videos just like this one. And if you liked this video, got something out of it, or like my videos in general, please hit the like button. It really, really helps me out and I appreciate it. All right, thank you so much and I will see you next time.